Spoštovane, spoštovani, gostje, predstavniki sredstev javnega obveščanja, predstavniki ministrstev, drugih deležnikov sodelujočih v projektu Strategije spretnosti za Slovenijo. Danes je za nas poseben dan. Točno ob 11:30, torej ta trenutek, je OECD na svojih spletnih straneh objavil rezultate druge faze strategije razvoja spretnosti z naslovom Smernice strategije spretnosti za Slovenijo, izboljšanje upravljanja izobraževanja odraslih. Pred vami je slovenski povzetek, dokument v obsegu blizu 200 strani, pa je dosegljiv na spletnih straneh OECD-ja. Slovenija je sklepom vlade Republike Slovenije 28.8.2015 pristopila k izvajanju projekta Strategije spretnosti po metodologiji OECD-ja. V letu 2017 smo pristopili poleg 13 držav OECD-ja, ki so bile že v procesu ali pa so ta trenutek, in sledili smo metodologiji in vodenju strokovnjakov OECD-ja. Zaenkrat pa je Slovenija edina država, ki je v procesu vključila 10 resorjev, 10 ministrstev, več kot 100 deležnikov in okrog 200 posameznikov, torej izbornic, različnih združenj delodajalcev, zaposlenih, raziskovalnih in razvojnih inštitucij, izvajalcev izobraževanja odraslih, tudi nevladnih organizacij ter drugih, ki se ukvarjajo s vprašanjem izobraževanja odraslih, bodi si na terenu ali v vladnih ali vlasteh lokalnih skupnosti. Z nami so bili seveda tudi predstavniki lokalnih skupnosti v samem procesu. Da so projekt na tej nacionalni ravni mogoče omogočili, pa je seveda pristopila tudi Evropska komisija, ki je projekt financirala v 80%, vse drugo je poskrbela seveda država Republike Slovenije. Z nami je danes minister za izobraževanje, znanost in šport, dr. Jernej Pikalo, vodja Centra za spretnosti pri OECD, gospa Monserrat Gomendio, gospod Samo Hribar-Milič, izvršni direktor Gospodarske zbornice Slovenije in gospa Vera Pintar, podžupanja občine Jesenice. Več o njihovih vlogah v nadaljevanju. Za uvod pa zdaj vabim ministra za izobraževanje, znanost in šport, dr. Jerneja Pikala, za kratek oris pomena pridobitve druge faze strategije spretnosti.
Spoštovane gospe in gospodje, spoštovana vodja sektorja za spretnosti pri OECD-ju, spoštovani predstavniki lokalnih skupnosti, spoštovani predstavnik Gospodarske zbornice, delodajalcev, ostali kolegi iz OECD-ja, ki so tule na terenu v Republiki Sloveniji 3 leta opravljali to nalogo. Najprej, da vas pozdravim v tem, bom pa rekel, zelo lepem okolju Ministrstva za izobraževanje, znanost in šport. Danes v tem predbožičnem času imamo še tako posebej lepo dekoracijo in se zaradi tega tudi dobro počutimo. Ampak to ni edini vir dobrega počutja danes. Jaz moram reči, da sem izjemno vesel in zadovoljen, da je OECD danes objavil to strategijo, nacionalno strategijo razvoja in uporabe spretnosti za Slovenijo. Gre bolj za analizo, pravzaprav bom rekel, gre za najbolj poglobljeno analizo, ki je Slovenija kadarkoli do sedaj imela. OECD-jevi ljudje so bili v sodelovanju z našimi deležniki, raznimi deležniki od ministrstev, 10 ministrstev je pri tem sodelovalo, do vseh tistih deležnikov, ki tako ali drugače sodelujejo pri delu lokalnih skupnosti, lokalnega izobraževanja, podjetij in tako naprej. Skratka, vsi deležniki so sodelovali v tej študiji in moram reči, da je seveda sem vesel, zato ker je nastala kvalitetna študija, ki nam bo nudila zelo dobro oporo, ker to je ideja, za drugo leto, ko moramo narediti nacionalno strategijo razvoja izobraževanja odraslih. Mi smo imeli prej en sestanek, na katerem sem jaz predvsem poudaril implementacijsko fazo. Implementacijsko fazo zaradi tega, zato ker želim, da ni v tej državi samo analiza na analizo na analizo, ampak da končno preidemo k dejanju. Navodila, usmeritve, priporočila OECD-ja iz te analize nam bodo pri tem prišla zelo prav. Zato danes z tega mesta tudi napovedujem, da bomo v letu 2019 pripravili strategijo izobraževanja odraslih, ki bo celostna strategija in ne bo samo strategija tega ministrstva ali samo izobraževanja, ampak pravzaprav strategija vseh deležnikov. Včasih se kdo vpraša, pa se bo vprašal, zakaj sploh to? Zakaj potrebujemo še eno strategijo? Poglejte, tako kot nam je pokazala ali kot nam kaže ta analiza OECD-ja, je, da imamo resurse, tako finančne, kot človeške, kot organizacijske, pravzaprav fragmentirane. Niso dobro povezani in predvsem ne dajejo sinergij. In zaradi tega moramo sistem pomakniti bolj proti skupaj, ga povezati v smiselno celoto, ki bo dajala rezultat. Na še bolj praktični ravni gre pa za tisto, kar sem včeraj rekel v državnem svetu. Mi imamo pri odraslih resen problem. In sicer naši odrasli preprosto nimajo, ali vsaj nekatere skupine odraslih, predvsem tisti starejši, nad 55 let, ali celo oni kako se temu reče v lepi slovenščini, age group, v starostni skupini med 45 in 55, ti imajo vsej nekateri nižje kompetence, nižje veščine kot sicer in zaradi tega se seveda vanje splača posebej vlagati. Tudi v primerjavi z Evropo ali nasplošno z državami OECD-ja nam tu ne gre najbolje. To nam ne kaže samo ta analiza, to nam kaže tudi analiza PIAC, ki je bila narejena v preteklih letih in nam kažejo še nekatere druge analize. Če pa vemo po drugi strani, da bo vsak od nas, vključno upam, da tudi z mano, v tem življenju zamenjal 2, 3, 4 poklice, potem potrebujete resno dopolnjevanje veščin tudi v odrasli dobi. Zato gre na koncu, zato da imamo celokupen, vseobsežen sistem, kako vse tiste, kajti nove stvari prihajajo. Kmalu bodo poklici, ki jih danes še ni, in seveda izumrli bodo pa nekateri drugi poklici, ki so danes tradicionalni. Torej, če hočemo že odrasle, tisti, ki so že izven izobraževalnega sistema, dopolniti njihovo znanje, dopolniti njihove veščine, ne samo zaradi delovnega mesta, ampak generalno v družbi, zato da bodo bolje funkcionirali v družbi, recimo tak primer so digitalne veščine. Če hočemo to storiti, potem, kot rečeno, potrebujemo celosten, celokupen sistem, ker nam bo jasno, kje začnemo, kaj počnemo in kaj je seveda rezultat, ki iz tega izhaja. Zatorej v letu 2019 nacionalna strategija in upam seveda, obenem se zahvaljujem OECD-ju in upam tudi, da nam bo v prihodnje, da bomo lahko sodelovali, kajti OECD ima zelo dober horizontalni pregled na tem področju, tudi v ostalih državah in zakaj ponavljati napake, ki so jih že storile ostale države, če lahko to v procesu načrtovanja dopolnitve sistema pravzaprav to zadevo že odpravili. Tako da jaz se vsem zahvaljujem še enkrat, ki so pri tem sodelovali. Bom ostal še nekaj časa z vami, ne bom pa mogel ostati do konca in tu je moje globoko opravičilo, zelo nerad odhajam, ampak ko je treba iti v parlament, pa ni debate, kot se temu reče. Tako da res hvala lepa za današnjo udeležbo, hvala vsem, tako gospe Evi kot vsem, ki ste tako ali drugače sodelovali pri projektu. Velika stvar je to in prav je, da Slovenija naredi pomembne korake naprej. Hvala lepa.
Hvala lepa gospodu ministru za popotnico. Še eno imamo in ta prihaja iz Evrope. Evropska unija je seveda program oziroma projekt OECD-ja financirala v 80%, zato nagovor komisarke Marjan Thyssen za zaposlovanje, socialne zadeve, spretnosti in delovno mobilnost prihaja posnetek iz njenega kabineta in seveda nagovarja nas, ki se ukvarjamo v državah članicah s vprašanjem področja izobraževanja odraslih, seveda vezano na dokument nove priložnosti za izobraževanje odraslih.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate Slovenia on successfully completing the second phase of your National Skills Strategy project. I see the National Skills Strategies as a targeted and practical way to support the European Union member states in their structural reforms, helping on the way to sustainable growth and competitiveness. National skills strategies are a key instrument to help design and implement holistic reforms. A whole-of-government approach is central to this process. An evidence-based strategy built on shared commitments across government and across diverse stakeholders is a powerful instrument for reform. It can help to implement the European semester recommendations and the policy vision outlined in the Skills Agenda for Europe. This is why the European Commission is happy to provide substantial co-funding to this OECD-led project. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving into the economy of transitions where people change jobs many times in their careers. This is why adult learning and upskilling throughout life becomes imperative. Yet, the OECD survey of adult skills showed that about 1 in 4 Slovenes aged between 15 and 65 has poor literacy and numeracy skills. And nearly half of all Slovenians have poor digital problem-solving skills. What is more, adult learning responsibilities are spread over 10 ministries and more than 200 municipalities. In Slovenia, participation in adult learning has been falling since 2010. It is especially low among the low-skilled and older workers. That's why, in recent years, Slovenia was addressed a country-specific recommendation on increasing employability of low-skilled and older workers. In response, I know you will now develop a comprehensive adult learning master plan. It will include all forms and levels of adult education and training. It will also clarify the roles of all sectors involved. Your goals of improved coordination, stakeholder engagement and awareness raising fit very well with the European Adult Learning Agenda. I wish you every success in tackling these challenges, and I want you to know that Europe stands ready to support you with financing, with targeted tools, and more generally in the implementation of your Adult Learning Action Plan. We now have the European Pillar of Social Rights as our compass. The pillar was proclaimed at the Social Summit in Sweden exactly 1 year ago. It's our instrument to better support fair and well-functioning labour markets with the right to learn throughout life firmly enshrined in the pillar. Thank you for your attention.
Hvala Evropski komisarki za ta nagovor in seveda Evropski komisiji za podporo dela v projektu. Temeljit razmislek ob zaključevanju prve faze je s prepoznavanjem ene od ključnih sestavin sistemskih prvin upravljanja izobraževanja odraslih vodil v drugo fazo. Druga faza je potekala od septembra 2017 do decembra 2018, tako imenovano akcijsko načrtovanje. Ob obširnih inštrumentarjih, številnih tematskih diskusijah in delavnicah je OECD zbral še ustrezne utemeljitve v nacionalni zakonodaji, primere dobrih praks iz Slovenije in tudi tujine. Nastala so priporočila z utemeljitvami o upravljanju politike izobraževanja odraslih v Sloveniji na vseh ravneh, kar pomeni nacionalni, povezave z nacionalne z lokalno in seveda nacionalne ravni z vsemi deležniki. Nastalo je 8 priporočil za razvoj in uporabo spretnosti, upravljanje izobraževanja odraslih, kar podpira 3 stebre upravljanja. Z nami je vodja Centra za spretnosti pri OECD, gospa Montserrat Gomendio. Prosim za besedo. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Just before you go, thank you very much, Minister, for launching and hosting this report. And thank you very much for the representatives from the different ministries that have participated. Thank you to Emma for coordinating and following the project all the way through. Thank you to Ambassador Soding for being here with us today, and thank you to the European Commission for the support that they've given us. So the results that I will be presenting today, as it was explained before, are the results of a 3-year project that has been divided into 2 phases. We first did the diagnostic phase, and that was launched in June last year, and then we started with the action phase, specifically focusing on the governance of adult learning. So we've been working with the government and with stakeholders in Slovenia for 3 years now. So one of the strengths of this project is that we've had 10 different ministries participating. We use a whole of government approach. We tend to engage as many ministries as possible, but this is so far a record for the National Skills Strategy. And the other strength, of course, is that there's been continuity between different governments. So we really appreciate these 2 features. We've also engaged many stakeholders that are very important, as you will see, in the governance of adult learning through our workshops. And in the first diagnostic phase, we came up with 9 different challenges, but then Slovenia had to choose among these which were the main challenges that they wanted to address during the action phase that we're presenting today. And these 2 challenges had to do with adult learning, number 2, with improving the skills of the low-skilled adults, and number 7, with developing and including an effective governance system of the skills model. So, governance is about developing a model that strengthens cooperation in a horizontal way between ministries, in a vertical way between different levels of governance, in this case municipalities, but also strengthens the cooperation with stakeholders to improve the outcomes of adult learning so that they are equipped with the right skills for work and for life. So why adult learning? Well, Slovenia, like many other countries, has an issue with the skills of adults. Here what we have is that the results of PIAC, the adult survey, that we carry out of the OECD of adults between the age of 16 and 64. And this is here you have the proportion of low-skilled adults in Slovenia in blue compared to the OECD average. So what you can see is that things have been improving in the sense that among the younger cohorts, here 16 to 24, you actually have a lower proportion of these young people having low skills than the OECD average. When you move to the next cohort, is very similar, but when you move to older cohorts, you have a much larger proportion of adults with low levels of skills than the OECD average. So this is why we decided together with you to concentrate on this big challenge. Now, they have low skills according to the survey. The problem is that at present and in the future, having low skills is going to become more of a problem. And why is that? Because of the impact of globalization and technology in the way it's transforming jobs, because of the risk of jobs becoming automated and disappearing or being hugely transformed, then people will be required to have much higher levels of skills. So even those adults that have average levels of skills will face a challenge because they will be required to improve their levels of skills. So the adults that have low levels of skills today will face really big challenges. So what we see here is that the estimates that we have for the OECD on average, we have quite a few countries being compared here, but I'm going to focus on the comparison between the OECD average and Slovenia here. You have 14% of the jobs at high risk of automation, over 70% risk of those jobs disappearing. And then you have another 32% at significant risk of automation. So either they're going to disappear or they're going to experience a profound transformation because many tasks are going to be automated. These figures are higher for Slovenia, so rather than 14%, you have 26% of jobs at high risk of automation. And this is why adults with low skills will face much greater challenges, because in order to move to other jobs or to remain in those jobs that will be transformed, they will be required to have much higher levels of skills than they do today. So what is the main issue apart from the fact that they have low levels of skills? The main issue is lack of motivation to learn, particularly among adults with low levels of skills. So 40% of the population, almost half of the population in Slovenia, not only do not participate, but do not want to participate in adult learning. So this lack of motivation, the lack of vision of the benefits that participating in adult learning will bring to them, it's a great concern that needs to be addressed. And when we compare the degree of participation in adult learning according to different variables, basically the summary is that the adults with the highest levels of skills are the ones that engage the most in adult learning, while the adults with the lowest levels of skills don't engage. They don't see the benefit. Now, we see this when we compare levels of educational attainment. These are adults with, that only reach below upper secondary or tertiary education. As you can see, it's adults with a tertiary education that engage in adult learning much more than adults with a really low level of educational attainment. You get the same when you compare employed that do engage in adult learning with unemployed and inactive that don't engage. And you see the same over age. We've seen that it's the older generations that have the lowest level of skills. Well, again, it's the younger generations that engage in adult learning and the older generations don't. So, again, the ones who need the most don't engage, and they really face the risk of losing their jobs and being left at the margins and not being able to catch up with all the changes that are happening in the work, but also in life. So why do we concentrate on governance? Well, because adult learning is the responsibility of many different actors, not only within governments. As we've seen in Slovenia, there are 10 ministries that have responsibilities on adult learning. Also between different layers of governance, municipalities also have responsibilities on adult learning, but also many other actors. And here I would like to emphasize the role of employers in adult learning, but also, as I will show later on, many others. So it's very important that responsibilities of each of these actors are clearly defined, that accountability mechanisms are put in place to see whether those responsibilities are being fulfilled, whether they have the right impact, and also so that a system is designed to work out how this huge challenge of reskilling and upskilling the whole adult population throughout their careers is going to be funded. Who's going to provide the resources? What are the incentives so that whoever it is provides the resources? Because this is too complex to be the sole responsibility of government. So as I said, there are 10 ministries that have responsibilities in adult learning in Slovenia. So obviously coordination and alignment of policies is very important, but you have a huge range of institutions that provide adult learning and training. I'm not going to go into detail, but you have schools, you have higher vocational colleges, you have universities, adult education centers, NGOs, business chamber education centers, intercompany training centers, and so on and on and on. This really is a very fragmented system, and the issue is not that it's fragmented, because since so many actors need to play a role, it normally is fragmented. The issue is that it has to be well coordinated and it has to be well designed so that everybody knows what responsibility they have, and so that you can evaluate the impact of what it is that they're doing. Are they really upskilling adults with the skills that they need in order to move to a different job or to remain in their jobs while those jobs are being transformed? Those are the questions that need to be asked. In addition, you have municipalities, regions, and social partners having very important roles, so the map gets more and more complex, the mapping of the governance of adult learning. So we've come up with 8 recommended actions, but since I've been asked to keep it short, I'm going to show them all, but I'm going to concentrate on the 3 that we think are most important. We've looked at the conditions, we've looked at the relations, and we've looked at the policies to make these 8 different recommendations. The first one is to develop a comprehensive adult learning master plan. This master plan needs to include all forms and levels of adult education and training, and it can't be just another strategy. Because you are quite effective in generating strategies, but it's the time to move into action and to move into implementation. The current master plan excludes some actors that we think are very relevant or should be very, very relevant, like the privately funded sectorial and higher education, and lacks widespread buy-in, responsibilities, and accountability mechanisms to understand what is working and what not. Second one, strengthen oversight and accountability in adult learning. Third one, enrich decisions and coordinated with good information systems to have a good understanding of who's responsible for what and who's accountable to whom. Action 4, these are the ones that I'm not going to dig in detail. Strengthen interministerial coordination. We've seen 10 different ministries with different responsibilities. It's very important that they align their policies, that they work together. To strengthen cooperation also vertically at the local level with municipalities and with regions. Here, it's the other one that I'm going to focus on, strengthen government engagement with stakeholders. It's very important to understand what is it that employers need today, what is it that employers will need in 5 or 10 years' time, and what is it that adults need. And what is it that you can do in order to motivate those adults that need it the most and still don't do any of the training, because those are the ones at risk of being left behind, and that leads to many problems, obviously for them, but also for the whole of society. So it's very important to have information on what skills do employers need and how to equip people with those skills so that they can make the transitions as easily as possible by getting the right training. Improve cooperation and raising awareness about adult learning, and the final one is about improving cooperation on funding for adult learning. Obviously moving from a front-loaded education system that ends when people finalize their secondary degree or tertiary education into a system where every adult in the population needs to upskill and reskill for the rest of their lives, because they're going to be moving jobs, or because their jobs are going to be continuously evolving and transforming. It's a huge task that needs resources from many different sources. So if employers are going to get involved, what are the right incentives for employers? What is the public funding going to target? What is the private funding going to target? And you need to design a system that works for all. And what next? So I was told by Ben, I'm here with Andrew Bell, who leads the National Skills Strategy team, and by Ben Game, who's leading this project in Slovenia. And he tells me that you're not really considered a proper Slovenian if you don't go all the way up there. So this is meant to be very symbolic. I haven't been up there, I have to recognize. So you need to climb the mountain, basically, by taking action. And these actions require high-level political support, holding responsible the organizations and the sectors that are accountable, that have a role to play, and make all sectors understand the benefits of the actions that you're implementing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica, for this very deep presentation. Mi pa gremo naprej. Proces je tak, ker smo k njemu povabili ne samo predstavnike ministrstev, ampak tudi različne deležnike. In danes bo glas teh deležnikov zastopal gospod Samo Hribar-Milič, izvršni direktor Gospodarske zbornice. Lahko kar tule. Izvolite.
Lepo pozdravljeni. Prihajam iz Gospodarske zbornice Slovenije, predvsem bom govoril v njenem imenu, čeprav sem mnenja, da naša stališča delijo tudi druge gospodarske asociacije. Pričakujemo v naslednjih letih dramatične spremembe na trgu dela. Včeraj smo imeli v Državnem svetu posebno konferenco in istočasno smo imeli v Ljubljani v Monsu tudi posebno konferenco o digitalni prihodnosti Slovenije. Predvsem na tej slednji je bilo opozorjeno, da 80% delovnih mest v nekaj letih ne bo moč upravljati več brez digitalnih kompetenc. In slišali smo tudi napoved, da v naslednjih 10 letih polovica delovnih mest, ki jih imamo danes v Sloveniji, bo izginila. In tudi druga polovica bo zahtevala precej spremenjene, drugačne kompetence za to, da bodo ta delovna mesta še naprej konkurenčna. Ta delovna mesta, ki bodo izginila, bodo seveda nadomestila nova delovna mesta. Kakšna ta bodo, kaj bo nastalo, je odvisno od več razlogov, najprej seveda od makroekonomskih razmer, tudi od podjetniške motiviranosti za podjetniško delovanje, vendar in predvsem od tega, kakšne kompetence bodo v našem prostoru na voljo. Še pred 2 letoma smo po nekaj letih krize ugotovili, da zdaj pa je prišel čas, ko imamo v gospodarstvu sladke skrbi, ker ne moremo več izdobaviti toliko, kolikor imamo naročil. Še zavedali se nismo, kakšna mora prihaja, kajti danes imamo zelo trdne napovedi, da bo ključna pomanjkljivost v slovenskem prostoru pomanjkanja kompetentne delovne sile. Na eni strani, poznate, imamo zelo resne demografske skrbi, kajti generacije, ki prihajajo na trg dela rojene po letu 90, so skoraj za tretjino manjše kot generacije, ki odhajajo v pokoj. In na drugi strani seveda se tudi precejšen del Slovencev zaradi takih drugačnih razlogov, tudi socialnih, izseljuje iz Slovenije. Ampak kakorkoli, vse skupaj nas čaka zelo resen premislek o tem, ali imamo programe, ne samo strategijo, s katerimi bomo te težave, ki jih vidimo, da prihajajo na trg dela, lahko zmanjšali ali celo minimalizirali. Najprej nas čaka, da ugotovimo, kakšne bodo potrebe po kompetencah v naslednjem obdobju. Tisto, kar danes edino zelo trdno vemo, je to, da to, kar danes delamo, čez 10 let na tak način ne bomo več delali. To je najbolj znana ugotovitev, ki jo imamo v gospodarstvu. Seveda pa že danes obstojijo modeli in pristopi, s katerimi ocenjujemo, kakšen je tehnološki razvoj, kako tisti, ki so nekaj stopenj pred nami, danes reagirajo z dodatnim usposabljanjem, z dodatnim pridobivanjem kompetenc, se pravi z nekimi kompetenčnimi modeli, z razvojem kariernih platform, ugotavljati, kakšne lahko pričakujemo, da bodo potrebe po znanjih in kompetencah v naslednjem obdobju. Mi smo v preteklem letu 2, pripravili nekaj kompetenčnih modelov za nekaj posameznih poklicev v sodelovanju strokovne, akademske sfere, gospodarstva, tudi mednarodnih analiz, ki so pripravljene, znotraj predvsem nekaterih zelo razvitih evropskih industrijskih konfederacij, lahko napovedujemo, kakšne bodo recimo potrebne kompetence leta 2025. In vidimo, da nam tukaj zelo veliko manjkajo nam konkretni programi in pristopi, manjkajo nam pa tudi oblike izobraževanja, ki bodo dovolj atraktivne, da predvsem starejši bodo imeli motiv, da se v te oblike vključijo. Kajti tudi to vemo danes, da s takimi oblikami, kot so danes razvite, tega manjka, te vrzeli, ki je pri starejših za dodatno usposabljanje in izobraževanje, ne bomo uspeli pokriti. Se pravi, da nas tudi tukaj čakajo kar posebne naloge. Čaka nas tudi oblikovanje nove mreže teh izobraževalnih organizacij, predvsem pa krepitev ne samo tega socialnega partnerstva v smislu iskanja nekega socialnega konsenza, ampak partnerstva, ki bo na profesionalni ravni zagotovilo, da bodo na eni strani srednjeročne in dolgoročne potrebe gospodarstva, ki bodo ustrezno profesionalno verificirane, ne samo napovedi konkretnih gospodarskih subjektov, rabili bomo take in take kompetence, ampak se pravi te kompetenčni modeli na eni strani in napovedi in na drugi strani seveda znanja in dognanja v sferi izobraževanja, da bomo to lahko v sodelovanju realizirali v neko konkreten set ukrepov, ki bodo pripeljali do sprememb. Zato nam ta priporočila in ugotovitve, ki jih prinašajo sedaj te analize pod okriljem OECD, prihajajo pravzaprav v pravem času, nič ni še izgubljenega, nikoli ni nič dokončno izgubljenega, čeprav smo kar nekaj časa zamudili, zato da oblikujemo neko novo alianso, zvezo za to prihodnost, v kateri, kot rečeno, bo ključen poudarek na tem, da bomo krepili sistem pridobivanja in razvijanja kompetenc skozi celotno življenjsko obdobje. Hvala lepa.
Hvala lepa Glasu gospodarstva še za ta pogled. Ker smo v drugi fazi spretnosti govorili in pretresali tako zakonodajo kot realno izvajanje organiziranost nacionalnih povezav med ministrstvi, povezave med ministrstvi in deležniki ter povezave z občinami na ravni sodelovanja, kar pomeni povezave tudi do izvajalcev in neposrednih uporabnikov izobraževanja odraslih. Ti so v centru pozornosti pri krepitvi vseživljenjskega učenja in različnih spretnosti v odrasli dobi. Zato smo danes povabili posebno gostjo, podžupanjo občine Jesenice, gospo Vero Pintar. Občina Jesenica je namreč eden od primerov dobre prakse v slovenskem prostoru, kjer letno načrtujejo program izobraževanja odraslih in ga seveda dopolnjujejo z nacionalnim budžetom. Gospa Vera Pintar, izvolite, kako to počnete pri vas.
Hvala lepa. No, na razpolago imam 2 minuti. Jaz vas bi najprej v imenu občine prav lepo pozdravila in se seveda tudi vam zahvalila za povabilo. Mene veseli, da ste nas prepoznali kot primer dobre prakse. Trudimo se že kar nekaj časa, sami najbrž nam nič novega povedala, če povem, da so Jesenice podhranjene tako strokovne kot pravzaprav na nivoju izobraževanja. Zato smo se v naši strategiji razvoja do leta 2025 pravzaprav lotili dela tako, da smo to, kar nam je država ponudila z analiz, to, kar so nam delovne organizacije, kjer smo obiskali na Jesenicah prav vse delovne organizacije in jih povpraševali potem, kaj pravzaprav potrebujejo za delo oziroma kakšne načrte imajo v bodoče, in smo ugotovili, kakšen manko pravzaprav teh delovnih organizacijah je za nove zaposlitve. Lahko bi bilo danes več zaposlenih, če bi imeli ustrezno izobrazbo oziroma delovne izkušnje oziroma ta prave kompetence. Izobraževalni zavod Ljudska univerza na Jesenicah je pravzaprav zelo znana, poznana. Seveda zahvalo gre ne samo programom, ki si jih pridobivajo tako preko evropskih sredstev, tako tudi preko občin, delajo za vse 3 občine Jesenice, Kranjsko Goro in Žirovnico in smo se mi z njimi dogovorili, da je potrebno pristopiti k izobraževanju oziroma usposabljanju za daljše obdobje. Tako mi načrtujemo vsako leto program dela izobraževanja odraslih, skupaj z Ljudsko univerzo, ki ta program potem izvaja, rezerviramo iz proračuna sredstva, zato naj vam povem, da v letošnjem letu smo temu namenili 82 000 evrov, kar je za Jesenice kar velik znesek in zavedamo se, da le na ta način pravzaprav bomo lahko zadostili tudi delovnim organizacijam. Jaz mislim, da izobraževanje odraslih, zdaj se zavedamo vsi skupaj, da je potrebno se izobraževati pravzaprav od zibelke do smrti in da je treba znanje, ki si ga pridobiš v šoli, ves čas nadgrajevati. Nikoli se to ne neha. In tega se kar dobro zavedamo. In v izobraževanju odraslih mi zajamemo precejšen del pravzaprav srednje izobraženih, više in visoka. Nažalost, tisti, ki bi se mogli najbolj izobraževati, pa nikakor ne najdejo moči, da bi se izobraževali ob delu. Tukaj bo treba narediti velik napor, slišali smo zdaj vse apele iz gospodarske zbornice, slišali smo tudi profesorce z OECD-ja, da nas čaka velika naloga na tem področju in se jo moramo lotiti kar takoj. Hvala lepa.
Hvala lepa. Hvala lepa seveda obema Glasu gospodarstva in seveda neposredne prakse v lokalni skupnosti. S tem zaključujemo ta del predstavitev na tiskovni konferenci in seveda odpiramo novinarsko vprašanja.